Every Linux user thinks they chose their distro. They didn't. Their distro chose them, based on exactly how much pain they're willing to tolerate, how much control they need to feel sane, and how loudly they need other people to know about it. And if you've ever wondered what actually happens to a person as they move through the Linux ecosystem, from the moment they install their first distro to the moment they're posting screenshots of a desktop that has no icons, no taskbar, and somehow looks like the cockpit of a spaceship, this is that story. Because every level changes you, and nobody warns you before it does. Level 1. Linux Mint. It starts the same way for almost everyone. Something about Windows finally breaks you. Maybe it's the update that rebooted your machine during a deadline. Maybe it's the third time Edge asked to be your default browser this week. Maybe your perfectly good laptop was told it can't run Windows 11 because it's missing a security chip you've never heard of. Whatever it was, you Google Best Linux Distro for Beginners. And every single forum, every Reddit thread, every comment section says the same thing. Linux Mint. So you install it. And here's the strange part. Nothing happens. There's no learning curve, no terminal commands, no existential crisis. You open the laptop, there's a taskbar at the bottom, a start menu on the left, a file manager that works. It looks like Windows 7 decided to get its life together. And you think, wait, that's it? That's it? That's the whole thing. Linux Mint's entire philosophy is, your computer should work and then get out of your way. No drama, no opinions. Just a machine that does what you tell it. The kind of person who stays on Mint is the kind of person who sees their operating system the way most people see their refrigerator. It should be cold inside. It should keep food fresh. They do not need it to have a personality. And honestly, there's a quiet wisdom in that. While every other Linux user is arguing about init systems and package formats, the Mint user is just getting things done. They installed it for their parents. Their parents haven't called with a computer problem since. The system runs. Life continues. But you're not that person, because if you were, you wouldn't be watching this video. Something in you looked at that perfectly functional desktop and thought, there has to be more. Level 2. Ubuntu. Ubuntu is where you start calling yourself a Linux user. It's where you learn what sudo means, where you run your first apt update and watch the terminal scroll and feel, for about 30 seconds, like you could hack a government database. Where you take a screenshot of your desktop with neofetch running and post it somewhere you shouldn't. Ubuntu is the most popular Linux distro in the world, and that is both its greatest strength and the exact thing that will eventually push you away from it. Because the community is massive. Every error you encounter, someone has already solved it. Every tutorial assumes you're on Ubuntu. Every cloud server defaults to it. For a while, this feels like being part of something. Then you discover snaps. For those who don't know, Canonical, the company behind Ubuntu, created a packaging format called Snap. And at some point, they started quietly replacing native applications with Snap versions. You type apt install Firefox and think you're getting a normal installation. You're not. You're getting a sandboxed container that takes 8 seconds to open, doesn't match your system theme, and auto-updates on its own schedule. The moment you realize this is happening without your explicit consent is a small but genuine betrayal. Not because snaps are the worst technology ever made, but because the thing that brought you to Linux, the feeling that you're in control of your own machine, just got undermined by the distro that was supposed to be on your side. This is the moment the Ubuntu user splits into two people. One goes to Linux Mint, removes snaps, and lives a quiet, peaceful life. The other thinks, if I can't trust someone else to build the system right, maybe I need to go deeper. Level 3. Debian. Debian is where you stop chasing new things and start respecting old ones. If Ubuntu is the friendly face of Linux, Debian is the granite foundation underneath it. It's been here since 1993, Ubuntu is based on it. Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu. Half the distros you've ever heard of trace their lineage back to this one project. Run entirely by volunteers, governed by a social contract, and named after Toy Story characters. The first thing you notice about Debian is that the software is old. Not broken, not bad, just old. You'll install a package and realize the version is 2 years behind the latest release. And your first instinct is to think something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. That's the point. Every package in Debian stable has been tested so thoroughly that your system will run like concrete. Not exciting, not flashy, but absolutely, stubbornly unbreakable. Debian users have servers that haven't been rebooted since the pandemic. They don't say this to brag. They say it like someone mentioning that their Honda Civic still starts every morning. Of course it does. The psychology of a Debian user is the psychology of someone who has been burned by instability and decided never again. They'd rather use a slightly older version of everything than deal with one unexpected crash. They view boring as the highest compliment an operating system can receive. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you respect this. You really do. But there's the thought forming that you can't quite shake. What if you could have the latest software and stability? What if there's a middle ground? Level 4. Fedora. There is, and Linus Torvalds uses it. That's the first thing every Fedora user will tell you. And honestly, it's a pretty good argument. The man who created Linux, who literally wrote the kernel, runs Fedora on his personal laptop. Not Arch, not Gentoo, not something he compiled from scratch by hand. Fedora. Fedora is the distro for people who did their research. It ships the latest kernel, the latest GNOME desktop, the latest everything, usually within weeks of upstream release. But it does it through a tested 6-month release cycle. You get cutting-edge software without the rolling release anxiety. It's the engineering middle ground, and it feels like it. Using Fedora feels like driving a car that's modern, but not experimental. Everything is where it should be. The defaults are sensible. The system assumes you're competent, but doesn't demand you prove it. There are only 2 rituals every Fedora user shares. The first, adding RPM Fusion on day 1 to get media codecs, because Fedora's commitment to free software means it won't ship proprietary codecs by default. The second, waiting for DNF, the package manager, to finish resolving dependencies. There's a running joke that you can start a DNF transaction and make a cup of coffee before it finishes. It's funny because it's almost true. But the Fedora user doesn't complain much. They've found their balance. They're productive, they're comfortable. They could stay here forever. Some of them do. And some of them hear a whisper, a phrase. 4 words that have been rattling around the Linux community for over a decade. 4 words that are simultaneously a joke, a badge of honor, and a warning sign. I use Arch, by the way. Level 5. Arch. This is the final level, and it changes you in ways the others didn't. Arch Linux doesn't come with a desktop. It doesn't come with a display server. It barely comes with anything at all. When you boot the installer, you get a black screen with a blinking cursor. No GUI, no wizard, just you, a command line, and the Arch wiki, which is, and this is not an exaggeration, the single best piece of documentation in the entire Linux ecosystem. Even Ubuntu users use it. Even Debian users use it. It is the sacred text. The first time you install Arch, you will partition your drive by hand. You will configure your bootloader manually. You will forget to install a network manager and reboot into a system with no internet. You will break something. You will break it again. You will spend 5 hours on something that takes 2 clicks on any other distro. And when you finally boot into a working system, a blank, empty, beautiful working system, you will feel something that no other operating system has ever given you. You built this. Every package, every service, every pixel on this screen is here because you put it there. This is the IKEA effect applied to operating systems. You love it more because you assembled it yourself. And from this moment on, you will never shut up about it. The Arch user is a very specific kind of person. They don't just want control. They want total authorship. Their dot files are version controlled on GitHub. Their terminal color scheme took 4 hours to choose. They use a tiling window manager that makes their desktop look like something from The Matrix. And when a non-tech friend sees their screen and asks, "Did your computer break?" they feel a quiet, private joy. They run pacmansu to update their system and hold their breath for 3 seconds while the terminal scrolls. Because Arch is a rolling release, always current, always updating, and occasionally something breaks. Not often, but when it does, the community response is always the same. Skill issue. And here's the part nobody tells you about reaching this level. You will spend more time configuring your system than using it. You will spend an entire Saturday choosing between 2 nearly identical fonts. You will rice your desktop, post a screenshot on Reddit, and refresh the page to see if strangers approved of your color palette. And eventually, after the install high fades, after the ricing obsession mellows, after you've said, "I use Arch, by the way," in enough conversations to satisfy whatever part of your brain needed people to know, you'll arrive at a strange, quiet realization. The distro doesn't matter that much. What actually happened? Here's what nobody tells you about the Linux journey. Every level feels like you're getting closer to the real Linux experience. Mint is the tutorial. Ubuntu is Act 1. Debian is the grounding. Fedora is the refinement. Arch is the summit. But the summit doesn't look the way you expected. Because the most experienced Linux users, the ones who've been through every level, who've compiled kernels and broken systems and rebuilt them at 3 a.m., they almost always land in the same place. I use whatever works. The obsession with distros was never really about the distros. It was about you, figuring out what kind of relationship you want with your own machine. How much control you need, how much you want to understand, how much of your identity you're willing to tie to a piece of software. And every level taught you something about that. Mint taught you that simplicity isn't weakness. Ubuntu taught you that popularity doesn't equal trust. Debian taught you that stability is a form of respect. Fedora taught you that balance exists. And Arch taught you that building something from nothing is deeply satisfying. And also that you probably have better things to do on a Saturday. The real level isn't a distro. It's the moment you stop asking which one is best and start asking which one lets me do what I actually care about. And if you've already reached that point, well, you already know which one you're using. And you probably don't need to tell anyone about it anymore.